Join the conversation by calling in at 476-1045 or tweet into the show at 1045 The Team. It's Big Board Sports with Roger Weiland on 1045 The Team.
The elite turf rider in the Capital Region and one of the best in the country. Boy, we're really gonna pump up Tim Wilkins this morning.
Oh, man.
We need him for Saratoga. It's right around the corner. Tim Wilkins joins us here on Big Board Sports 1045 The Team, ESPN Radio, reacting to the news that came out yesterday on Justify. Good morning, Tim. How are you today, bud?
Hey, Roger. What's happening?
Too much. Are you at Belmont?
On the way.
Okay. Yeah, I knew you told me you're heading to Belmont. What is your storyline at Belmont?
You have to wait until Sunday.
That's a tease,
There's
Raj.
the tease from Tim Wilkins. All right. All right. What do you make of, let's get to the lead story today, and that is Baffert saying that there's some filling in the left ankle of Justify. Exactly what does that mean to you, Tim?
Well, it means to me that, the horse hasn't had a workout since before the Belmont. That was a first white flag for me. If they were going to get him ready for the Haskell, which, they never made any kind of plan what they were going to do. But if he was going to run the summer, it was either going to be the Haskell and or the Travers, I would think. But with no workouts, he wasn't going to make the Haskell. And then this comes out yesterday. I think that the breeding end of it comes into play big time here because, we don't know what the extent of this is. If it is something that, that they're going to evaluate and they feel that they can deal with and they do bring him back to run, fine. I just don't see that happening. I don't think we're ever going to see him on the track again. I think it's going to be announced in a couple weeks, maybe less, that he's going to be retired and head to stud.
I agree with you 100%. And the money we're talking about is like $75 million. So the breeding rights to Justify sold to Coolmore Stud in Kentucky, and that's the price tag at $75 million. So why would you risk anything with this horse? And I don't think they will. I think you've seen the last of this horse on the racetrack. But then the follow-up question would be, is it because of the rigors of, now he didn't race as a 2-year-old, but is this all stem from the rigors of trying to win the Triple Crown?
I don't think so. I mean, it's, obviously I'm not there to see what the horse looks like and all that. A lot of times they have these built-in excuses that they can retire a horse with. I mean, there's obviously something there. I mean, he was training. He just wasn't working. And Bob is a pretty stand-up guy. He's I don't think he's going to make something up for the fact of saying, well, we can't run this horse anymore. I think there is something to it, but I don't know if I take it from the rigors of the Triple Crown. I mean, he only did race 6 times. Granted, those 6 races started in February 18th, and he had the issue after the Derby in the hind leg when there was something amiss there after he stepped on a rock. So, it's not like this horse has been invincible as far as, his health. So, we'll have to just wait and see what happens with this evaluation that you're going to do out in California. But I would bet my bottom dollar they're going to come out and say that he's done.
Tim, Brian Mariano filling in for Chris this morning. I know we talked a lot about this over the last couple weeks, and for me, maybe I'm just holding on to this as a horse racing fan, but if we find out in the next week that it isn't anything serious, he could still theoretically come back and run in the Travers and or maybe the Pennsylvania Derby over about a 7 to 8 week span, or maybe I'm just kind of hoping too much because I don't know if is this injury serious enough that if there wasn't the breeding money on the line that he could come back and run in the near future?
Oh, I think he could. Yeah, he could. And I'm like you. Of course, I'd love to see him run again. The sport needs to have, a superstar like him stay in training. I mean, it's nothing against the rest of the 3-year-olds, but the wind goes out of the Travers sails very quickly if there's no Justify coming to the Midsummer Derby,
Absolutely. I mean, the wind goes out. As soon as this story came out yesterday, for me, I went, oh, boy. I was hoping that Justify would end up in Saratoga, and I clearly think now, with the news breaking yesterday, this is not going to happen. With opening day, Tim, a week from Friday, what are the headlines? Take Justify out of the picture and assume he's not going to be here. What are your headlines going into another Saratoga racing season?
Well, from the horse standpoint, you got to hope that Good Magic runs well in the Haskell and Chad Brown brings them back in the Travers. He also has Gronkowski, who was second in the Belmont, who he was originally slating to run him in the Jim Dandy, but he's missed some works. He hasn't missed any. He has trained, but he's missed works, so he's not going to run in the Jim Dandy. I think Chad told me yesterday that he's hoping to train Gronkowski up to the Travers. And, the Audible, who was third in the Kentucky Derby, he's on the shelf. We won't see him. Dwayne Lucas will have Ravazzo, who was second in the Preakness. Steve Asmussen's Tenfold, who was third in the Preakness. You'll have some name horses, but without Justify, you don't have the name horse. And you'll have, who knows, maybe Baffert will send West Coast to the Whitney Handicap if Justify's okay, and maybe you'll run Justify in the Pacific Classic rather than West Coast. I mean, West Coast did win the Travers here a year ago. I mean, that's food for thought, too. I mean, I don't see that happening because I still don't think Justify's going to run. But if Justify were to run, maybe Bob keeps him out in California, even though I don't think he wants to run them against older horses just yet. But there's a couple of horses maybe that could give him a race out there, Accelerate being one. I mean, that's just something that's just to throw out there. I mean, but I still think that as far as the headliner at Saratoga, I think the headline is gone.
Yeah, Tim, and one more for me on Justify. I know a horse only ran 6 times. He's undefeated, made just under $4 million, won the Triple Crown. But I had an interesting discussion with a couple other horse players that are friends of mine about whether this horse could be a Hall of Famer because of the short time he did spend on the track. If I had to ask you right now, would you actually vote for this horse to be a Hall of Famer? Does the Triple Crown give him enough to put him in?
I don't know how you can keep a horse out that won the Triple Crown, Brian. I mean, it's just, every horse that's won the Triple Crown is in the Hall of Fame. I just don't know how you would say, yeah, right, body of work is only 6 races, but I think you got to put him in the Hall of Fame if he wins the Triple Crown. That's my opinion. I'd vote for him, yes.
See how this whole thing plays out, but Tim, in the news, not good with Justify, and I'd be very surprised if we see him certainly in Saratoga, and B, I think we have seen the end of Justify in his racing career because of the $75 million price tag that we are talking about on this horse.
And Roger, that's too bad because the sport needs to see these horses stay on the track longer. I mean, I get the breeding end of it, but the fans are the ones that get shortchanged by it at the end. You remember with American Pharaoh, Ahmed Zayat wanted to share this horse with the public as much as he rolled the dice when he brought him to the Travers. He lost, but there's a lot of people that had lifelong memories of seeing American Pharaoh that Friday before. He ran in the Travers when there was between 15 and 20,000 people that came out to Saratoga at 8:30 on a Friday morning just to watch him gallop around the track. Those are the things that horse racing needs, and it's unfortunate. I mean, hopefully, who knows what'll happen after they evaluate him. I'm like you, though. I don't think we're going to see him on the track, but it would be nice if I was surprised and he did come back.
Tim Wilkins, safe travels to Belmont. We will read whatever your story is going to be as we tease ahead to the Sunday edition of the Times Union. Tim, thanks for a few minutes, and we'll certainly gear up for next week, opening day a week from Friday.
Sounds good, you guys.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.